And I'll turn the webcam and your webcam on. Welcome to the stream, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. We've actually got the beginning of the new special series, the Shibby Pod's WR64 player interview series that I announced a little bit earlier this month. We took some sign-ups, and we have our first person on the interview schedule today in Doctorfeesh. Welcome to the stream, Doctorfeesh. Thank you for joining for this.
Hey man, thank you for doing this.
Well, there are a lot of players who signed up for an interview, but it's really hard for me to be more excited to interview anybody else, because when it comes to up-and-comers, I mean, you're not the only one, I will say that, but there are, few as impressive as far as like how far they've come and how quickly. And one thing, of course, that a lot of new wave race players like want to know and don't really have any good reference point for is like, how long does it take to get good? And so I did want to kind of start off by asking you a little bit about your start as a competitive wave race player, as a speedrunner.
Okay.
So when as far as just gaming in general, what's your gaming history like? What games did you play before wave race, and how casual or competitive were you?
Okay, so going back, games have always been in a part of my life as long as I can remember. Whether it be having I started off on an N64 and a Super Nintendo with mostly Mario games, Super Mario 64, like in a very casual way, Mario Kart 64, Super Mario World for Super Nintendo.
I love that one too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that game's good. I'm gonna have to revisit that on stream soon.
Are you? I know I am. Are you mostly like a Nintendo fan, or do you play other companies' games too?
Yeah, I have other stuff I've played on. Mostly Nintendo throughout my life. Even like handheld wise, I've never had a handheld that wasn't from Nintendo.
Yeah.
Even though I know that they're like PSP and PS Vita, I never was interested. Going more into when I was in high school, it was mostly GameCube. I had a PlayStation 2 as well. Countless really great PlayStation 2 titles that I've played. Some of my favorites include Time Splitters 2, Time Splitters Future Perfect.
The Time Splitters games were a part of my childhood too. They're very fun multiplayer games, and you could, kind of like Wave Race, you can play that game in your own way. Like you can speed run it, you can just go around killing bots. You can do really like so many different things. In some of those levels, you could create levels in some of the games.
Oh yeah, and Future Perfect.
Yeah,
they had that. I'm not sure about 2. They might have.
So, sounds like a lot of familiar games to me, actually, that you kind of started off with the Marios and like Time Splitters.
Yeah.
What would you say the first video game was that you really got like serious about, that you wanted to get good, like to the best of your ability at?
League of Legends.
League of Legends, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you made a Okay, yeah. See, I was never like really an MMO player.
Okay.
Was it the competitiveness of the community, or was it just the game being hardcore that got you interested?
The game is very hardcore. I think it's a little bit easier to even get into now than it was back when I was getting into it. Because the way that they revamped the system, players at a lower level are able to have access to the same things as level 30s do. Or like, well, level 30 is the level in which you can start playing competitive or ranked. And so I grinded when I was away at college, and over the summers and stuff, I grinded to get my level 30, and I was able to do ranked. And that was really where I really felt a desire to be in a competitive format. And also along with that, probably came about around the time when Black Ops 2 was out. So I've also played a lot of Call of Duties.
Okay.
Mostly on Xbox and now on PlayStation.
Did you ever play Halo, or was it mostly about Call of Duty?
I played Halos. I enjoyed Halos. That was more of a game with friends.
Yeah.
Halo 3, Halo Reach. and a little bit of 4. Not much 4, but a little bit.
I liked 1 and 2, Halo 1 and 2 a lot.
Okay.
And
I played
then,
Halo. I used to play Halo 1 on the computer.
Oh,
At school.
I forgot they made them for PC. Like
Halo PC.
yeah, Halo, and then they did Halo 2 also, didn't they?
I'm not.
On PC?
I am not sure if that made PC.
You know what?
It was Xbox.
I can't remember. I know for sure it was on Xbox. That was a good one
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah, of course. That's one of the everyone. A lot of people point to as their favorite.
So a lot of these,
I never got to experience that because I never had an Xbox.
a lot of these games that you're talking about, like when I assume that in the time period you were playing them, they were rather new games still.
Yes.
Too.
Yes.
So what made you go retro and go back in time to the older games?
Go back to the older games. Okay. A lot of it was when there wasn't as many really good Call of Duty titles. Or
Okay.
games that could keep my attention. So,
Was that like
you know,
after Modern Warfare
it
and
was
stuff?
after Modern Warfare. It was after Black Ops 2
Okay.
because I liked all of them up to Black Ops 2.
Yeah.
And then I didn't really care for Ghosts.
So Eliminator Jr. says that Halo 2 was a Windows. It was a Vista
It
exclusive.
was a Vista exclusive, and I never had Vista.
Yeah.
I was on XP, and then I skipped up to 7.
So
yeah,
it's cool that a lot of, those are a lot of those have huge competitive followings too. A lot of
Yes.
those games that we were just
yeah.
talking about.
and I still pay attention. League's the only game I really pay attention to competitive stuff, but
Yeah.
I still enjoy watching competitive Call of Duty, even though I don't really play the games.
Yeah, and I
Besides
can
zombies, I'm more of a zombies guy now.
actually share that in common with you too, because I have a history with my own competitive games like Super Smash Bros. Melee,
Okay,
and
yeah.
and
I watched I've watched some
Yeah.
Smash.
and I may not go to tournaments anymore, at least
Yeah.
not on a regular basis, like maybe once every few months, but
Yeah.
I watch like as many as I can. Still, I'm still.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a part of it still, even though I'm I'm
yeah.
not there. And I bet you you probably feel a lot of that too, don't you? Feeling
I
still
do,
like a
to
part
some
of the.
degree, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. That's
Yeah. I mean, I played League of Legends from about 2012, around season 2 till season 6. So I played around 5 years of consistent League.
wow. That's a lot.
And most of it, and a lot of it was in competitive formats. A lot of it was with friends. Like I was playing with friends and stuff.
And let's
But
see
then at the time, I was
how.
also doing ranked.
Okay, that's a long
Yeah.
time span. 5 years.
It's a long time span,
That's.
yeah.
And I know that the answer isn't that long. How long have you been playing WR64 as someone who considers themselves like a competitor?
7 months.
So you would have started in what, February? Okay.
Yeah, around late February when I started putting my webcam on my chair and recording.
I do remember that. And, I talk to a lot of new players. Usually they'll send me a handful of messages and then I might not hear from them for a long time. But
Yeah.
that wasn't the case with you. And you asked me, like, what you needed.
Yep.
And I told you, here are the best things that you can have, but you can settle for, like, slightly worse than this.
Yep.
I was like, get a GV USB 2.
Yep.
Get the Radio Shack splitter that we both have,
We both have that jack splitter, yeah.
And I remember, like,
And
you
Shindu.
ordered, and Shindu, you ordered all of that, like, within the first 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
And you had it all and set up and
Within a
running
month.
within the month.
In the
Yeah.
month, Yep.
Now, that's awesome. I think it was like at that time, and you weren't great yet,
No.
but I could tell. I was like, this guy actually wants this.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike everybody else who just thinks I'm going to pick it up for a few sessions and be top 3, like
Yeah, I
that
didn't think
is
that at all.
that is an unrealistic viewpoint. You took a very realistic viewpoint and you're seeing real results from
Yeah.
that.
And as Metal had mentioned, I even purchased myself an input viewer from
Yeah,
from
you
our-
I
from our buddy
think
Chad.
are only the third WR64 player who streams with an input viewer.
Yep.
And the second would have been Modal. And I think I was the first, but
You were the first. Yeah.
but I wasn't the only speedrunner with an input viewer by a long shot. I got
Yeah,
my
no.
input viewer rather
There's
late
a lot
in the
of
game.
There's a lot of Diddy Kong Racing guys who have input viewers.
Quite a few GoldenEye players use it now too, I noticed, but it is still rather rare in comparison to how easy it is to obtain and set up.
Yeah.
Like, if people realized how cheap and easy to set up they are and how good they are when they're up and running. Because
oh, sorry.
Oh, you can go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say it was even cool because the person that I purchased from, that you also purchased from, he was running a sale. I bought my input viewer on 420, so he was doing like a special 420 deal.
Nice.
And I bought a controller. I bought my Atomic Purple controller, which I still use. The stick's getting pretty loose now.
Yeah.
And I got another controller which barely has any use on it, but I use it for Golden. I've used it for like 2 sessions of GoldenEye.
I use different controllers for different games. It's rare for me to use my WR64 controller for anything especially casual.
I probably could.
I was gonna ask, do you have like different controllers for different games too, or do you use the same one for everything?
Besides, like, I've used the same controller for Mario Party, Diddy Kong Racing, and Wave Race. I'm finding that it's okay for Diddy Kong to have it.
Yeah.
But and I don't play much Mario Party. I don't do any more Mario Party speed runs. I just can't with the toll it takes on your hand if you don't do it right.
Was it just the hand, or were you kind of worried about the controller itself? Because I can imagine
it was my hand. I had like a thing that had to heal for like a week and a half while I couldn't play, and then I was like, that's just from that's because Tug of War and Paddle Battle are both in any percent, so, and they're in everything, so
yeah. So back over to Wave Race. So you've been playing since February of 2018.
Yes.
You are currently in your first ranking period. You got ranked 9th place out of, there were like 30 players, around 30 players who I had like on my sheet who I had to like try to order.
Mm-hmm.
The next ranking period we're halfway there. At the end of this month, we'll be exactly
January.
halfway. Just out of speculation, and I want to hear it from you, where do you think you'll land? Like, where do you think you would land if it ended now and I had to make the rankings?
7th place.
Okay. I won't make you say the whole order, but who would you pass to get there?
You have to pass 2. Modal and Hoshi.
Modal and Hoshi, yeah.
And then I think Metalhead would pass both of them as well.
So he would be 8th. Okay, because he's ranked 10th right now, and also that was 10th. his first ranking period. Do you remember, did he start before or after you?
Before.
I think you're right, because he was in GoldenEye rooms and stuff before that too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be an appropriate time to maybe mention a couple of other players too. There are a lot of players on the rankings list with a lot of skill, but and I know that now, after talking to you, you have these aspirations to pass Modal and Hoshi, but a lot of us in the community already know. But who do you think your biggest like competitive rival around your skill level is? Like, who could steal that spot from you?
Metalhead.
See, I knew you were going to say that, and I think
definitely my rival.
Yeah.
He's just about as active as I am. Unfortunately, going through computer issues sucks.
So, and I've been
when he comes back, when he comes back, he's gonna be firing on all cylinders.
So, what do you think Metalhead's strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and vice versa? Where is he strong where you're weak, and where is he weak where you're strong?
Metalhead's really good at diving, so most of the dive courses, he has all his times on those courses are better than mine. Twilight City, Marine Fortress Reverse, and the 1 laps for TC and for Marine Fortress. And he also is better than me at Sunny Beach.
I thought that he was going to end up being the better RTA player because of his ability and willingness to dive in high pressure situations. Yeah. But what happened last week when you just destroyed all championships? Like, you have caught on to that consistency. How do you differentiate like time trial attempts from RTA attempts, I guess is really what I'm asking. What do you do different in RTA?
Yeah. Honestly, especially in all championships, I just have to remember to keep myself calm even when I crash, even when something happens with a crash.
That's good, yeah.
Or with and when it comes to single championships, like obviously even if I crash once, I usually just reset, unless I'm just going for a no reset just to derust. But
Yeah.
for the most part, it's one thing when I got into the game was making sure I was watching other people's runs and looking at their lines and seeing how they would adjust if it looked like they were in a bad spot, how they would adjust the turns and everything like that to make it so they wouldn't crash.
Yeah, that's true. And I used to
and
tell
that's
people all the time too to watch everybody's videos. Like, don't just watch whoever has the record, because there will be things that you overlook, you know?
Yeah.
So that's really smart that you're watching videos, and I would encourage other players, if you're watching this interview or if you're watching any speed, it goes for any speed game.
Any game, yeah.
You know, you need to watch multiple runs of a variety of different players to really get a good picture of how to fix mistakes before they get bad, you know, how to make the most of any situation, whether it be great RNG or not so favorable RNG. So that's good. I was actually also going to ask you about a couple of individual courses. Well, first of all, what do you think the courses that you've spent the most time on in individual levels?
So individual level wise, I would have to say overall I probably spent the most time on Sunset Bay.
Okay.
And
Sunset
if you look
Bay.
on the leaderboard, it would definitely show that I put a lot of time into the course.
Yeah, well, actually, I have the leaderboards pulled up here, and just to give the viewers a little bit of a reference point, Sunset Bay is one of our most competitive levels. We have 13 people that have the benchmark time right now. Feesh is one of them. There are 65 entrants on Sunset Bay, and Doctorfeesh is currently 7th. So very impressive with a 105.651. That beats Lockwood. That beats Ryan Lockwood, the legend.
Yeah, that beats the legend himself. Yep.
It also is currently ahead of your rival Metalhead. So that is a very strong course for you, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But something tells me it's not really your favorite course. What's your favorite course?
Actually, I would say it probably is my favorite course. It's at least tied for first with Glacier Coast Reverse.
That was your first benchmark time.
It was my first benchmark time. I got it on my birthday. It was early. Well, it was like the early morning of my birthday.
Well, Glacier Coast Reverse, I will say that Glacier Coast Reverse, at least at this point last year, was not the most competitive level. There was like 2 people. I had I think a 120, maybe a 121 still at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then like quite a few people, but not as many as now, had 122. 122 kind of blew up. Once you got it, I think a lot of people started going for it. And then, of course, you were the one that moved the benchmark down to 121 on Glacier Coast Reverse. So that's good. Why a level like that, though? A lot of people hate that level, Feesh.
I found it to be a challenge. And when I first looked it up, I was like, well, it's probably not much of an unplayed course. Also, when I went into it, I was looking to get top 10 in every single reverse
course, yeah.
Every reverse course I was going for top 10. I still don't have that achievement to this day.
My pancake says that he says, "God damn it, why do I have to be at work?"
I'm sorry, bud.
Yeah. And yeah, so to get, to bring down a course like Glacier Coast, and maybe to give maybe that even gives other people hope that Glacier Coast isn't that random. It's really not random. It's just
No.
testing in a way that the other ones are not,
Yeah, it's specifically it has. I don't think there's another besides Twilight. Maybe Twilight City Reverse, but even then, Twilight City Reverse openings. Once you get used to it, it's pretty easy. It's definitely the most challenging opening of a course.
Yeah,
And
I think so.
because like to really go fast through it takes a lot of work, and you can go really fast, but if the waves aren't right, and that buoy and the one buoy that I hate comes down, it smacks you, you lose the run.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
things that can end a run, but especially on certain courses, and I think that the jetter courses are really heavy on these
Yes.
kinds of
Oh, they
factors.
are, yeah, definitely.
Anything can end such a good run
Anything
in
can
a
end
snap.
such a run.
Yep.
Yep.
How do you stay
yeah.
motivated for long sessions where it's hard to PB, or you don't feel like you're getting there? How do you persevere?
Because a lot of times, I'm very fields based, where I don't particularly sit down for long periods of time. I take a lot of time to. I take a lot of. At least, yeah. Even throughout my time playing on stream and stuff, I pretty much try to keep myself, sane in what I'm doing and not overworking myself. One thing I'll talk about I'll definitely in this case reference when I was going for Sunset Bay 105.
Okay.
Which happened that was my first forward benchmark. It took a lot of work and time. It probably took between 6 and 7 hours of grinding. Including playing on stream, where I lowered my time. I got a 106.8 or something like that.
Okay.
And I just bunkered down. I watched your 105 tutorial, which if you guys haven't found any of Shibi's benchmark tutorials, they're really good.
Thanks. We still got a few left to do too.
Yeah,
at least two left.
Yeah, in the forward section. Honestly, at that point it was just sheer determination to get it. I did it offline because I wanted to submit it, because I wanted to put it in Kapod, which it was in Kapod too.
That was cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always glad to see a newer player getting involved in that kind of thing, because it's inspiring to the player who makes it in, and the rest of the community too. Wow.
Yeah.
This guy just started and he's being put in the other guy's videos already. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so we got rankings coming up. We got Shibithon 2 coming up. And of course we've got other interviews in the future planned too, and those will be fun. But I wanted to find out from you, who would you like to who are some of your favorite players that you want to see interviewed? Maybe not the ones who obviously will get interviewed, but who would you like to see?
Okay. So this excludes some people that I know are already on the dock.
Yeah, and or maybe even the players who have already gotten it. I'm not in a big hurry to interview Ilu again, although it would be interesting now that he has his 110 on Drake Lake, because he didn't last year when we were talking.
Yeah.
But who are some of the players that you'd like to see interviewed, or maybe just because you like them,
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm gonna echo what Metalhead said in chat and say Modal. That was definitely the first. That was the person who came to my mind would be Modal to do an interview.
Yeah. I agree. He would be a good one to interview, and I think Modal, he's in here.
He is. I think. And obviously there's a lot of time differences between everybody and this person, but Hayate.
That would be a really difficult, and
it would be difficult.
It would be so good to do.
It would be really good, but difficult.
Yeah, it would.
We don't know how well his spoken English is pretty good.
I think it would
from
be
streams.
a good interview. He knows. I think he reads English pretty well, at
Yeah.
least to a certain extent. Now it's
Yeah.
better than it was when I first started talking to him. Anyway, I can tell that
Yeah.
it's better than it was. I don't know so much about dialogue.
True.
I haven't been able to really interact with him in that format. So that would be interesting though to try that.
Yeah. Hayate, modal. Um. Yeah. I mean Mo. Actually, Gilly.
Mo would be a good. Oh, Gilly too. I think Mo
Gilly,
is
yeah.
so mysterious. It would be
Mo is
good to
mysterious. That'd be
interview
cool
him.
to get to
He's
do an interview
mysterious.
with him. Yeah. Him. The three other besides Mo, two others would be Gilly Guide and Lockwood.
Both good options too. I always like to get a chance to talk to Lockwood. He doesn't come around enough anymore, you know.
Yeah, I know.
So, what do you think? What do you think the best record in the whole game is in individual levels?
Um,
Is it? And I'll just throw a couple of examples out there.
Marine. Oh gosh, it's difficult because I love the 114.
Yeah, the
999.
Glacier Coast 114,999. That one's mine.
Yeah.
Honestly, we can't forget about Drake Lake 110 by
We
Ilu.
cannot forget about Ilu's
That
Drake Lake
is
110.
definitely up there, if not the strongest.
You and
Seriously.
Hayate 107.
Yeah, and
Fortress.
that shocks me so much. I feel at times so far ahead of the pack, and then Hayate continues to surprise me, like on levels where, because 2 years ago he was back at 109 on Marine Fortress when I got the first 107, and then suddenly here we both are like a tenth of a second apart now. Twilight City Reverse, same exact thing.
Twilight
He
City
was
Reverse,
like a whole
same
second ahead. He was a whole second behind.
Whole second behind, 135.7.
And then he just
pulled-
shows up with the record.
Drops.
You know?
Oh, yeah, that was incredible.
So you can't sleep on anybody.
I beat Hayate's time on Twilight City Reverse, and like next day or 2 days later he had the world record.
Yep.
I was in shock and amazement how good he is. He got the third recorded 115 on Glacier Coast.
He did, actually. We waited a long time for that. It never came from the player that we wanted it to. We wanted to see Analog's video.
Yep, we did.
But we have 3 proven 115 players now, and a fourth that I believe, I believe that Analog did it.
I 100% believe he got it, yeah.
I just wish that we had that video. That's all. And I've told him
Yeah, I
plenty
do
of
too.
times.
Yeah.
So that's good. So if you had to say out of, let's say out of these 4, because I'll throw in another one too. We'll say that probably the 4 best records in the game could be Drake Lake 110, Glacier Coast 114, Marine Fortress 107, or, and this is a toss-up. Let's go with Twilight City 123.
Okay.
Like, out of just like play strength, I don't know about you. I'll say I think that it's probably Drake Lake. It's the one of those 3 that I don't have, or of those 4 that I don't have. But when
I don't know if anyone's gonna get a 110 soon.
But does the intricacy of the dive on Twilight City like put that
It
in a
really
similar
does.
tier?
It's close.
At least.
Yeah. I would say all 4 of them are very close. Each for their own reasons.
Here's a good question for you then, Fish.
Okay.
Which one of those records do you think you would eventually be able to beat first?
Ooh. Oh gosh.
Of those 4 hardest records in the game, potentially the hardest. You know, we're kind of speculating on which is the best, but do you think you have the consistency strength to go for Drake Lake, or do you have like the balls to the wall skills to go for like the 107? You know what I mean? Because that one just takes so much risk, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it would be Drake Lake or Glacier Coast.
Yeah.
At least right now, I'd say that, and that's because I struggle with diving, and I'm I'm putting off sitting down and doing it. But
Well, Glacier Coast, I think it does help that it doesn't have a dive. It
it
has
does.
it has its own
It
very
has its
challenging
own challenge.
sections,
Oh
but
yeah, definitely.
it is absent of that one stupid trick that I'll admit it's a daunting trick.
It
The
is.
the dives,
Yeah.
it scares a lot of players away from the benchmarks on both Twilight City and Marine Fortress
Yeah.
when they could
And
otherwise get
Fortress
it.
Reverse.
Yeah, Fortress Reverse is, I would say it's kind of in its own category, but it's
Yeah.
kind of sharing that category also with Glacier Coast Reverse, where
Yes.
it is very dependent on one section going well,
Hmm. Yes. Yeah.
But you have to do it 3 times on Glacier Coast
Yeah.
Reverse.
On Glacier because you used to do it once on Marine Fortress. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I do have a couple more questions before we start wrapping things up.
Okay.
So, not a lot of players do these yet, but I know that Ilu has done them, and I have done them, and a couple of other players have done them, and I'm talking about marathon runs. Like
Okay.
getting together with a group of guys or girls and guys and organizing like a speed gaming event. You know what I'm
Okay.
talking about? Like,
Oh yes.
so on the largest scale, these events are like awesome games done quick or summer games
Yep.
done quick. But on a
Yeah.
smaller scale, which actually both of us have gotten to do this year, would be something like SRX, which I did, or
Mm-hmm.
a Race Against Time that you
It's
did.
time, which I did. Yep.
What do you think about marathons, and what do you think like the best categories to run at them are?
Um, I've done 2 all championship marathons. I think the best uh, categories for a marathon would be either all championships because it's just it shows it shows every single format of the game.
Yeah, and it tests the player's endurance too.
It really does, yeah. Um, or I would say maybe reverse, just a single reverse championship,
Yeah,
because it shows off a side of the game that not a lot of people know maybe exists. They probably figure you'd go the courses forward, and
yeah,
there's different difficulties, but there's the reverse difficulty,
that's true, and it's
which
quite a bit different than the forwards are,
oh yeah, hmm
especially with like how intricate the levels get with intentional
buoys,
buoy misses and
yep.
stuff. Yeah, so that's good. So you did a Race Against Time, and what was the other one that you did?
It was called Racing Games and Speed Equals Spectacular. It was a first time event. It was a very new event. Um, I don't know how well planned out it actually was. We didn't have when I did a Race Against Time, I streamed through it, and it was just a different way of streaming and everything like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I think they were trying to reduce the lag as much as they
yeah,
could by
they
using
were
like a
trying to.
direct.
They were just streaming my. They were just streaming my stream
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah.
Which does
I
create
mean,
quite a
we'll
bit of
probably
lag.
do time trial races on this channel one day
Yeah.
with that method. So
Yeah, gotcha.
it's good to know what they do, and maybe we can adopt that here for our
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
That's cool. What's the? Do you like doing events like that? Do you like doing
I do.
marathons?
I enjoy doing the marathons. Yeah,
What's
definitely.
the biggest marathon that you would go to play Wave Race?
Um, Games Done Quick. I think most speedrunners would say that they would love to do a run on Games Done Quick at some point in their life.
I can agree
Um,
with you there. Yeah,
yeah.
games done quick
Um,
would be the most people that you could play for at once.
oh yeah,
Potentially, you
yeah.
know,
And if not there, I mean, I know. I don't think there's any more big U.S. ones. I mean, SRX